Hello and welcome to Faction Turn 60. Apologies for starting 15 minutes late. Discord, OBS. There's been some issues this morning, and there were updates. Updates always break things. But anyway, we're here now. So thank you everyone for tuning in for our 60th turn. It means we've done this for 5 years now, which is a little wild. And also, one of these last few months we'll be doing it before we wrap things up here as we get towards the end of the year. But I think we've told a fantastic story, and I can't wait to see where we leave it, because I'm sure the story never ends. But we will currently stop writing it. So let's see where we hang things off, where people have threads to pick up for in the future, or maybe for us to come back to in a few years' time. Either way, welcome on in, welcome. And let's go ahead and get things started. I don't have any other pre-stream announcements than I guess that little unplanned intro to celebrate the 5th year. So I think we just go do what we do best, and that's run an asset, a faction turn. So, up first this turn, after much speculation, is in fact the Jailers. They are first. They're going to be taking the use asset ability goal, or action, excuse me, and leave Tellus. So, let's go move their assets around. All of their assets currently on Tellus are going to move to 1307 Skyless Reach and Quetzalcoatl. This should lose Armored for its movement. This loses Purchase Sickness. And then they're going to activate all of their assets and use their Ancient Technical Experts or Reactive Armor. Which one of these is it? I should it's the Reactive Armor one, isn't it? That gives them the, as an action, their assets can gain the Armored status, so they're going to use that to have everything gain the Armored status. The Strike Fleet down in Kuzimu, it's just gonna hang out there. It's just gonna stay there. But we do get to basically wrap up their turn. We just need to do, of course, one other thing. I need a... what is it? Planet? That's not the right one. There's a table for this, isn't there? I want to roll on the planet list. 0009 Mijaria. Okay. Congratulations. You are the proud owners of a new Jailer strike fleet. Fantastic. Wonderful stuff. Oh, this one shouldn't have the armored status, though. It should just have Purchase Sickness. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I think that's it for the Jailers. Did the council give permission to them? No, the council didn't. The Jailers are just double moving. I believe double movement is in... we can go double check this, but I am pretty sure double movement is in the permissions list. The Jailers just don't need permission. They're kind of rude like that. Maybe they had a hand in developing some of this technology. Maybe they've used it before. Who knows? These things here. Okay, where's the ruins list? It's not covered in this section. I know we have a section that covers the ruins. I put a whole table together. Well, here they are. Yeah. They'd pay the council for the activation. The jailers don't work in faction credits. Sorry. Yeah, I think they can just double move. I am now interested. I know we had this written down somewhere, which ones they were allowed to deny. So the only one they weren't allowed to block that I know for certain is the legitimate target of a movement. A hex. You couldn't block the destination. Yeah. This part I don't remember if it was blockable, but regardless, the council fails to collect a credit from the jailers. They don't seem to pay. It's weird like that. Yeah. Cool. But I think that is the jailer's turn. If there's other concerns, we can shuffle back to it. Up next, though, we have the Assembled Commonwealth taking a Seize Planet action, coming in second this turn. Before we get to the seize and the resulting attacks, we do have a few other things to do first, so let's move those assets around. Alright, we have a free action to move the Armageddon mech that is currently on planet CW. Assembled Commonwealth, planet CW. Well, that's an anchorage station. That's the Armageddon mech. It's moving to Ingrid. We're then going to use the anchorage station on planet CW to move the 2 grav tank formations on and itself 1, 2, and 3, yeah, to Ingrid as well. That costs 2 faction credits. We're then going to seize planet CW using the transit web. There's nobody else on that planet, so they're able to start the seize without a hitch. Planet CW, 1 of 3. While I'm editing this cell, I will change that. It doesn't actually tick up until the end of the turn, though. We're then going to run attacks on the Emelhart Institute on Ingrid, starting with 3 hostile takeovers, 2 party machines, 3 commodities brokers, with the 1 HP commodities broker attacking last, and then the Armageddon mech, 2 grav tank formations, and the anchorage station. So, let's go run through all of these attacks. So, starting with the hostile takeovers, these are wealth v wealth attacks, which means Assembled Commonwealth has a +7, and by default the defenders have a +6. So I have some defensive orders here. The Emelhart Institute will first block with their commodities broker that is on Hex. Okay, so let's roll the attackers first. So this is 2d10, keeping the highest one, plus 7 for a an 8. 2d10 plus 6 for the defenders is a 15, so defenders win the first roll. Commodities brokers deal 1d8 damage on a counterattack. They are a special forces asset. There is a demagogue with the stealth effect here, so that is plus 2 damage on counters. So d8 plus 2 for the maximum damage of 10, which I believe kills the attacking hostile takeover. Might only have 10 HP? Maybe I'm wrong there. Nope, they have 10 HP. First one on the list, because they aren't in order, so that we can temporarily go down to 0. We'll handle getting rid of it at the end. Up next, we have the same set of attacks, with a second hostile takeover defended by the same commodities broker for a 12 on the offensive roll and a 15 on the defensive roll. Same counterattack damage this time, or same counterattack dice, excuse me, this time for a total of 9 damage to the second hostile takeover. And then the third hostile takeover makes the same attack rolls. So that's the attackers for a 15, the defenders for a 9, so that's a success for the attackers for a 2d8 damage roll for a total of 12 damage against the Emelhart Institute. Let me double check, make sure there aren't any special instructions here. Yeah. Yep. There is a special rule here, just had to go double check all of my things for this, because there was some unfortunate, the original version of this had a slight issue that I had to get corrected, so there was some follow-up discussion that I've had to go fix my notes with. But the goal is to try to avoid the hostile takeover's effect of stealing an asset. Go figure. So this should soak to the base of influence because it would kill the commodities broker and therefore stealing it. I don't believe the hostile takeover functions like the treachery asset, where it's called shot. So this would not kill the Emelhart Institute base of influence, so where is it? It would take it down to 3 HP, so that should be fine. Fantastic. Cool. The next attack then is the 2 party machines. So, party machines are up next. They do 2d4 damage. And it's a cunning attack. So Commonwealth's cunning score is +5. Amelheart's is +6. So attackers still rolling 2d10, keeping the highest, but now only with +5. Have rolled a 14. Defenders rolling a d10 +6. That's what I said. Man, so many numbers. Amelheart is, yeah, +6. That's an 11, so a success for the attackers. This defending asset is the Demagogue, which would have to lose stealth to do this, but that's fine. For total damage taken of 5. Amelheart's Demagogue loses stealth down to 5 HP. The follow-up attacks work the same way. A second party machine for an attack roll of a 6. The defenders roll a 15, so the Demagogue gets 1d8 plus 1 counterattack damage. For 2 counterattack damage to the second attacking party machine. Or, that one's first in the list. There's the second one. That was 2 damage. I think that's enough to kill this one, so that goes down to 0. I'm leaving these at 0 so that I don't forget to appropriately track the blood the enemy goal this time. And then we have the next attack, which is for 3 commodities brokers, so these shift to wealth attacks, where Commonwealth gets a +7 versus back to the +6. Okay, so 2d10, keeping the highest, +7. We should switch back to the commodities broker being the defender, because the Demagogue gives the plus damage on counterattacks, and the Demagogue can't like, neither one of these assets, if they take the attack, are very likely to survive because they're both too low of HP. Pretty sure the commodities broker is a guaranteed kill, but the Demagogue is only a 3 HP as well. So defending asset is the commodities broker. As an attack roll of a 10, the defense roll is a 14. It's some so 1d8 plus 1 counterattack damage. For 4 counterattack damage to the first attacking commodities broker. So it goes down to 6. We get the same set of rolls. An attack roll of a 10, a defense roll of a 15, and the same counter damage dice roll for 4 counter damage to the second attacking commodities broker. Okay, the blood the enemy goal is completed, so that's fun. And then the third commodities broker rolls are the exact same. A 16 on the attack, and an 8 on the defense. So commodities brokers are 2d8 on attack damage. So a 9, and that does kill the commodities broker on Ingrid. So this goes down to 0. The next attack is the Armageddon mech, so Force v Force attack. So Commonwealth's Force is +6, Amelhart's is +5. So 2d10s +6. Yep, +6. Keeping the highest one. That's a 14 on the attack roll. Defense roll is a 10. So the Armageddon mech. Oh, but the Demagogue's defending. I realized I didn't say it. For 2d8 damage. That's 7 damage. So the Demagogue is dead. Down to 0. And then that means the only remaining Amelhart asset on Ingrid is the base of influence. So it must defend the final incoming attacks from a grav tank formation, which is Force v Force. Rolls again. So the attackers rolled a 15. The defenders rolled a 10. This is 2d10 plus 4 damage. Pretty sure their base of influence is less than the +4. Yes, it is. So this roll is only symbolic for a total of 11 damage. That is the base of influence for Amelhart on their homeworld at 0 HP. And 60 turns into the game, we have our first faction that has hit 0 HP. We'll take a moment here, because that is a significant event in our story for the Amelhart Institute to have its HP hit 0. There aren't any specific rules regarding faction death that we came up with. It's not a system we've encountered yet. There were discussions at points in times, but I always left it more nebulous as to what would happen because it would depend on the state of play. At this point, it seems silly to introduce a new faction when I've already said we'll be wrapping up in 2 turns, or approximately 2 turns. Either way, we're not going to be continuing our story for long enough for a new power player to appear on scene and figure out how they would shake up dynamics. So the Amelhart Institute will not exist as a faction for the next 2 turns. We won't have a turn. There'll be one less roll that goes out for order. But they will stick around on the Discord as their role if they would like. Folks are welcome to stick in that through the end of the game or jump into a different faction to wrap things up. And I think it's worth taking a note that the Amelhart Institute does still exist in fiction. I don't think they've been removed entirely in that way. They still have assets, capital A faction turn assets, that are elsewhere in the sector, that are still around. They still have regional influence, and they still exist as an entity a common person in Beacon Space probably knows about. Right? You've probably heard of the Amelhart Institute if you were living around and working in Beacon Space, but their power would wane over the coming years, and we would see them be less of that well-recognized figure. So I think it is worth noting that they still stick around in fiction. All the things that have been created, they're still there. I've always looked at HP of the factions as part of that storytelling system, where it's how much influence are they really commanding on the sector at large. And so if you were playing as an RPG party, the Amelhart Institute's job offers would slowly start to disappear and crop up in a different way. You may have smaller divisions within the Institute that separate off into their own groups that could form a much smaller faction turn. I mean, I think it wouldn't be unreasonable to say that if you were interested in the story of Amelhart as an organized group at that level falling apart, you could zoom in a level and make your sector much smaller, be a series of planets that Amelhart had influence on, and create an entire set of factions that are just the divisions within the Institute. And now they're their own fully fledged faction. They have their own influence. They're fighting amongst each other to collect the scraps of that influence from what's left. But I'll be interested to see the story if one gets written between the various folks involved. I think everyone should figure out what that story looks like. For functional notes, I'm going to leave Amelhart on the map, at least for through the end of this turn. We'll discuss things for whether or not how much on the spreadsheet they should stick around at this point afterwards. But I would probably vote to keep them with the planet of Ingrid and any other planet they hold current government on. Don't know if they have it anywhere else. To keep it around so that it stays up purple until, or if somebody else takes it before the end of the turn. I don't think that'll happen, but I think it's a nice thing for the story that, you know, they're still in control. They've just lost the ability to impact the sector at the scale that we're currently looking at the game. So, with that said, the Amelhart Institute would have completed their Blood the Enemy goal this turn. It was still a well-fought fight until the end, so congratulations to them for all of the effort they put in, and thank you to Warmind who took over Amelhart Institute. Still several years ago at this point, and for contributing turns for them. I definitely appreciated that the Amelhart Institute continued to stick around this long in our story and didn't have to get sunset, and I didn't have to invoke the plans I was not too thrilled to have to try and come up with several turns ago for what happened if a faction didn't have somebody to submit a turn order for it. So I'm glad I did not have to sunset them early from our game, and instead they have made it this close to the end and provided a really interesting story beat as we look to figure out what happens next in Beacon Space. So thank you. With that, I am going to go back into processing the faction turn, which will sound far more bubbly and upbeat than perhaps the moment needs, but that is, I think, the best way to put things forward. So, with that said, I need to clean up the spreadsheet. Assets at 0 HP should be removed. Yes, spreadsheet, I know you're not going to like me for that. So this one, I'll leave the base of influence at 0 for now. Assembled Commonwealth lost some assets, so they have a hostile takeover that should be deleted. And did anything else go to 0? I think they had a party machine also. Yes, they did. Okay. So that's all of the cleanup there. And that means I get to go back to processing the rest of this turn. So, up next for the Assembled Commonwealth is activating their transit web that is currently on planet CW to move the 3 hostile takeovers, the 3 commodities brokers, and the 2 party machines that are currently on Ingrid back to Idarast. Up in 0911, that range is possible via the transit web, so let's ship those assets back. Alright, what was that full list? some of those assets won't move because they don't exist anymore, but that's okay. So all the commodities brokers. Two and three. The 2 surviving hostile takeovers. And the 1 remaining party machine. Doesn't impact the cost calculations, so cool. And then the transit web on planet CW will also move itself with a final activation back to Iderest as well. I believe that means there are no assets left on planet CW, and therefore the Seas Tracker falls away, as planet CW has no asset on world to maintain its seas, and therefore cannot continue. The Lungs of Seas goes up to 2 of 3, which we marked, and so finally I just need to wrap up with goals and costs. So Assembled Commonwealth did take the Destroy the Foe goal, which is bring a rival faction's HP to 0. The goal completion here is the average of the rival's stat line plus 1 XP. The average of Amalhar Institutes is rounded down as 5. We tend to round down, so 5 plus 1 is 6 XP. Assembled Commonwealth find themselves with 13. And costs for the turn, as well as the money I didn't give them at the start, we can process now. So turn 60 income, bank paid, the Assembled Commonwealth, 5 faction credits, and they spent, they spent a total of 1 for the Armageddon mech move, 2 for those anchorage stations, 2 more for both transit web activations for a total cost of 5 faction credits for the turn. Very well. That wraps up the Assembled Commonwealth's turn, so we move on. To what should be the Amalhard Institute. They were 3rd this faction turn. They will not get to take their faction turn's actions, but it does move assets around that are not impacted. At least, it would have. Multiple assets return to Ingrid, as well as their scavenger fleet. Perhaps fictionally, these assets still do. Destruction of their homeworld has folks focus inward for a few turns. That internal scrabbling fights breaks out, and there's a whole other story to tell in the destruction of a faction from its scale of influence that we're currently at. But this turn won't happen. We won't move these assets around. We'll leave them where they are for now. And it will put it in here so that people are interested as to what their turn would have been. They can see it. But this turn won't be processed. Let me put that at both sides. Which means we move on to the Umbral Triumvirate. We just take the use asset ability turn and roll their harvesters. 60 income, bank pays Umbrella credit. They generate, hopefully, some money with these 3 harvesters. I believe harvesters are 3+. So that should be 3 faction credits. Let's go double check. I've only been rolling them every turn for a while. Yep, 3+. And plus 3 faction credits. Congratulations. 5th this turn, we have the Ascended Epistratum. Collecting their income of 9 faction credits before they take the buy asset ability. They'll be buying a Book of Secrets asset on the world of Icaros, and then also using their Purveyor faction tag to apply it to a different asset than it's currently active on. But let's do this purchase first. So the Ascended Epistratum picking up. Also, I've just done their income wrong because it shouldn't be all 9. I'll fix that in a second. Book of Secrets is going to cost them 20 faction credits. And this is, of course, purchased on Icaros. Purchase Sickness. And their income should, in fact, be 3 for the turn. Because the same note that's here. Costs. Oops, this is to the wrong person anyway. From Ascended Epistratum to the bank, 20 faction credits. And now we have to update Purveyors of Entropy. Disorder is no longer cast upon the Pretech Manufactory on the world of Idarast, and instead finds itself cast on the Pretech Infantry on this world, giving it disadvantage on any d20 rolls, or any rolls in general, that it makes. Very well. There is a +1 to the transit time of this homeworld, taking that up to 7 for the Ascended Epistratum. Up next, we have the Larkspur Combine, who have valiantly attempted to attack the jailers in various locations. Let's find out if they were successful in any of them. They've attacked the jailers on the Grail World with the present treachery. They had a specific priority order, but there are no jailer assets on Grail World to target, so that attack is invalid. The second attacks on Tellus, but again, the jailers have already left. They aren't here either, so no assets are available to actually make an attack with. That is it. They would have used their ability 2 with this, but they didn't manage to. They didn't manage to find any jailer assets, unfortunately. They have that this turn would have cost 11 FC. Maybe that's just my maths mistake. But I don't think it cost them anything. They didn't actually make any attacks that cost them credits. Didn't move anything around. They just collect their money. +6 to the Larkspur Combine. Up next, we have the Starlit Court, collecting their income of 7 faction credits and taking the repair action. as they heal up various assets of theirs. They're going to also move some things around. So they're going to spend 3 faction credits to move all of their Armageddon mechs back to Grail World. Oops, that's the wrong one. All of some Armageddon mechs that are on Maze, that is. Where are they heading out? 1, 2, 3, and 3. So those 3 have all moved. They're then going to repair the 6 HP Armageddon mech a total of 3 times. So repairing is the highest stat line number, so that's +6. So the 6 HP gets repaired for a total of 18, taking it up to 20. That cost 1 credit, then 2 credits, then 3 credits, for a total cost of 6. I do believe I need to double check, however, for them, because Grail World has a ruin, and repairing any starship asset type cost 1 faction credit less to repair. And they didn't include that in their math. So, they actually save quite a few credits on their turn from what they turned it in with. Because instead of this first asset repair costing them 6 credits, it actually only cost them 3 credits. The following Armageddon mech at 13 HP, somewhere on this list, also gets repaired, collecting +6, taking it to 19 HP. That costs 3 faction credits to repair, so the total cost is 6. And the 14 HP Armageddon mech is going to repair once as well, taking that up to 20, costing only 4 faction credits for a total running cost of 10. They're then going to use a free action to scout the research base to Polaris Alexandria, which is a difficulty check of plus of only an 8, so Avalon's Gates bonus more than succeeds here. D10 plus 12 is a 19. They managed to find the research base there after once and for all. So this is in Alexandria. Research base. Delta. So it has a unique name. That is +1 XP for the Starlight Court, taking them up to 4. And they only spent 10 faction credits this turn, unlike the 15 I believe they thought they were going to spend. So, congratulations. Oh, I guess it is 13. I'm forgetting the movements. 13 credits in total, but only 15 on the repairs, not the or only 10 on the repairs, not the 15 they had the math for. So, lucky them, they've saved 5 credits for getting an effect of Grail World that I went and double-checked for them as I was preparing for this. Up next, we have... Oop, I didn't paste it in their turn, though. Sorry, Ilaria. There you go. Up next is the Tellus Council. Which does deserve an update, as it has lost a member. Given the length of time remaining, I'm not going to impose any penalties for the council losing a faction. If this had happened earlier on, or if somebody had left, you would have had to give up some of your stat increases. But I won't steal those back at this point. The council can stick around at its current influence level It does now have an upkeep cost that's 1 higher than it was beforehand. So I think we'll go see that it does cost you a little bit more. 2 faction credits a turn, but that still seems like a reasonable enough investment. The council seems like it has the funds to endure that cost for a few turns. So, and of course, like always, the council's going to try and make some money. So let's find out. A D6 for the post-tech industry generates a faction credit, or 2 faction credits, excuse me, because that is a 6. There are 2 pre-tech manufacturers. Both are going to roll a 5 and a 4. That is 3 and 2 faction credits. So 5, 6, 7 in total so far. A harvester up next, generating +8, and a party machine up next, failing, triggering the reroll, and now succeeding for +9, doubled into 18, +1 for triggering the reroll, is a total generation of 19 credits for the turn. Congratulations. Up next, we have the Agumala Syndicate, who are going to start their turn by leveling up. They're going to spend 16 of their XP to increase their force stat to a +7. That's quite fun. They still only generate +6 income, but I believe that's all okay. So 60 income bank to the Agumala Syndicate, +6 faction credits. Up next, they're going to activate their Armageddon mech, currently on 1607, to move itself to Tellus for a faction credit. 1607 Armageddon mech moved to Tellus. This does incur an additional fee paid to the Tahora Y, a +1 credit. Up next, they're going to move the Armageddon mech, the Rites of Spring, also to Tellus, incurring the same fees. And finally, the Veridescent Fangs are making a similar journey. 3 credits owed in movement, 3 to the Tahora Y. They're then going to activate their post-tech industry on San Hydra, which is a D6 roll for a 1, so oof. What an unfortunate day to be that post-tech industry. It loses a faction credit, leading to a total cost on this turn of 7 faction credits, 4 paid to the bank, 3 paid to the Tahora Y. Pirate tag on Tellus. Cool. Finally, we have a D10 +6 versus DC 8. That's a success to establish some moons. How many moons? 2 moons around the world of Calypso in 1206. Moon 86, Moon 86.1, Moon. Fantastic. +1 to their XP for completing their goal. Agumala Syndicate up at 1. And we've already charged them their costs for this turn. So I believe that's it. I think that should be actually a little higher. Oh, and I forgot to tick this up for the jailers. Fantastic. Up next, we have the Concord of Mutual Disdain, taking the Expand Influence action and collecting their 8 affection credits of income. Starting off, they'll Distance Dilate, moving an Armageddon mech to Pang. From Planet X to Idarast. They've shown up into a bit of a mess, but that's cool. Next, they're going to move an Armageddon mech on 1818. 1818. The one on Viken to Planet AZ over in 1817. They're going to move 3 Armageddon mechs on Planet X and an Armageddon mech on Yakia to Rimaru. Or Rimaru, something like that. So 1, 2... Planet X. Planet X. Planet X. I moved a base of influence. Hold on. Planet X, Planet X, Planet X. There we go. That's the correct movements. And then finally a Smuggler's asset on Planet DT. Will expand influence here. It's the only one around, so it's able to do that without issue, creating a new base of influence that has 1 HP. Planet DT. A base of influence down, +1 to their XP, taking the Concord of Mutual Disdain up to 9. They complete their Seas of Planet AX as well, going to 3 out of 3. They have a new name for Planet AX. It shall henceforth be referred to as Kuzima instead of Kuzimu. Somebody was on brand there. And we have a new planet name for Planet AL. Wherever that is. Where am I finding you? Right here. In the 1511 system of Isilgotten. They're then also going to attempt to increase the population on the planet of Isilgotten from uncolonized to something a little bit higher. I don't actually remember the difficulty for planet populations. It's difficulty 11. But they have something like a +14 bonus, so it doesn't matter. And they can have established an outpost from this uncolonized world. Did I miss a smuggler moving? Oh, I did miss the smugglers moving. The smugglers move, there's some smugglers in 019 that move to 0518. We'll handle that in just a second. Kuzima. And then Planet AL is now Isilgotten. And the smugglers on 0619. I don't see smugglers on 0619. Am I blind? This is the only smugglers I see. It's supposed to be the smugglers that move after establishing the base of influence, probably. I'm pretty sure that's in range from 0618. Yeah, it's almost certainly these smugglers that are supposed to move, and there is no 0619, so I'm sure it's 0618, and that's just a typo. So they can move. They're in range, not a problem. Cool. Total costs for this turn: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in movement costs. 7 for the expansion. Transaction ledger. Let's, of course, give them their income and then charge them. Fantastic. Up next, we have the Tahora Y, taking the inside enemy territory goal, surprising no one, I'm sure, with that outcome. But yeah, there we go. They're going to be purchasing an Armageddon mech on Tellus. Income might need to be updated. Oh, for you? Okay. Right. You are correct. These probably +5 assets. I hadn't thought about that one. Let me process the rest of your turn while I think about it, because I don't think whether or not +5 or -5 credits actually impacts your turn. You don't run out of money either way. And I will think about it while we process the rest of this. Let's, Yeah, you spend a lot, but you also currently have a very large balance, so I don't think you're spending more than your current balance is, so you should be fine. Let's start off by building a Armageddon mech for them on the world of Tellus, to which the council was asked for permission, and permission was granted. Purchase sickness. Tellus. That costs 24 faction credits. Up next, we're going to adapt Link with the Anchorage Station Matika Tarenga to give that newly built Armageddon mech stealth, taking up 8 inside enemy territories by 1. That cost 2 faction credits. We're then going to move the Anchorage Station, the Pakwak, and the Surveyors, the Space Marines to Mankura Niti. 1 Surveyors and the Space Marines all move around to Mankura Niti. That costs 2 faction credits. We're going to move an unnamed strike fleet of theirs. The one up here at the top, also to Mankura Niti. And we're going to move an Armageddon mechs, the Black Gorub, and the Dreki Teo Awagora from Tellus to Saarinen for 2 faction credits. Where are those? Cernan. And Black Orb and Dreke, which is this one. And then we're going to move a distorted lens, the Akalari Begaria, from planet CT to Perengar with the or Penengard, I guess is more accurate, with the covert shipping asset, the Econ Verskanat. That cost a faction credit. Let's try to revise a world tag. Planet H, trying to go from Warlords to Ritual Combat. This is a DC 14 roll, D10 plus 8. That's an 11. Unfortunately, not a success for you today on making that change. You can try again next turn. And then we have some seizes to complete. So Tahora Y was seizing Planet CT and Planet U. Both of those have finished. Planet CT. Tahora Y is now the planetary government of. And Planet U. You had names for me. Did I just not? Didn't you? Am I making that up? Yeah, you did the names for me. At least for some of these. Planet U. You also have finished seizing. Planet U has been renamed. Oh, that's actually just an issue. That should be Crossbones already. To Uluj. Who knows? That sounds about right. And Planet CT. Gains +2 to the wealth cap and loses 1 from another cap. They are going to lose 1 from cunning. +2 to wealth, -1 from cunning. Cool. So, I've come to the point of making a decision about these multiple distorted lens assets. And I think they do stick around. Perhaps for a variety of reasons. Stories to be told. We need to figure out if they survive. So, I think they randomly attack another asset on this world. Specifically, another distorted lens. I don't think they can target the bases of influence specifically. But I think they just pick another distorted lens at random. So, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 other distorted lenses on this world. Let's find out what the first one attacks. A 3. 1, 2, 3. Children of the Vein take this attack. I think these are just how do I want to do this? I don't want to give them Ammo Heart's force bonus. That feels strange. But if they roll without modifiers against any faction, then it's just pointless. They're almost guaranteed to die. So I think these are just going to be flat D10 rolls. With the factions gaining the defenders gaining an advantage. Because I want it to be more likely the defenders win. So I think defenders just taking a flat +2 bonus sounds fine. I will give the defenders here a any of their tag abilities. So like Children of the Vein can reroll 1s. Let's do the attack roll of a flat D10. That's a 6. Defenders getting to reroll 1s once. +2. Have rolled a 4, and the attackers win. So this one's going to stick around. It does deal a d6 worth of damage in the meantime, so unfortunately the Children of the Vein have lost their that other asset. I'm going to go through and finish this up because I've made a decision on it. But I do think that probably, actually, I've started rolling, so I should finish all of these. But I think this really probably happens at the end of the turn, when the ruin effect checks. So, to solve the question from earlier, the Tohora Y should get 22 faction credits. It's maybe fictionally interesting if we finish these rolls now, so I will do that. And then we will roll for the reassignment of any surviving Amelhart distorted lens, which will have to be all of them, because they can only do take a d4's worth of counter damage, but they might cause some collateral damage, as they're doing here. So, Children of the Veins, Armageddon Mech at 1 HP, or, excuse me, Armageddon Mech Distorted Lens at 1 HP. Somewhere in this list of assets. Distorted Lens, this one, has died. So now it's a D11 to pick the target. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one can't be targeted. This attack just gets skipped. A 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Starlit Quartz one takes a roll. Roll defenders first for a 5. Roll the attacker. Oops. For a 3, so the defenders win here, dealing a d4's worth of damage back. So the third one up here. And 3, this one takes 2 damage. Another d11 for an 11, so that's the Tohora Y's. An 8 versus a 6, d4's worth of counter damage. And the first one, that's the Children of the Vein one again. Funny. Okay. So that one takes 3 damage, and the Children of the Vein ones takes 4. And then we will figure out how these get reassigned. After, I appropriately charge the Tohora Y for their turn, and we run the Children of the Vein's turn. So, Tohora Y spent 24 faction credits on an Armageddon Mech, 2 to put it with stealth, for a total of 26. 2 more on the next movement, 28, 29 for a movement, 31 for movement, 32 for the final movement. So, total cost I have calculated at 32 faction credits. Quite an expensive turn. Coming in 12th, though, we've got the Children of the Vein, who collect their income of 9 faction credits, and are taking the goal of Blood the Enemy and the attack action. Let me paste their turn in. So Blood the Enemy for them has a total tracker of 18. That is, I believe, the sum of these 3 cells. Yes, it is. Cool. Let's run through their turn, though. First off, they're going to heal a commodities broker on Tellus using the Tellus Ruin ability, taking it up to 9 HP. They're then going to activate the extended theater asset on Icaros to move a Pretech manufactory on Tellus to Heliocytus. Pretech manufactory on Tellus to Heliocytus. That costs a faction credit. They're then going to move the smugglers on planet DP to Tellus. That costs a faction credit to move. Would trigger the pirate tag, which is reimbursed by the bank. Or so no actual pirate tag trigger there. We're then going to activate the extended theater asset that is on Tellus to move a Pretech infantry asset on Tellus to Idarast. So there's one Pretech infantry, there's two, there's the one on Tellus. The one on Tellus moves to Idarast. And then they're going to activate the transit web on Heliocytus to move the transit web on Heliocytus to planet AI. Transit web, transit web. Where are you hiding? There you are. Planet AI. Then it's going to move 2 hostile takeovers on Beholder to Heliocytus. Heliocytus. And Heliocytus. And then we're going to activate the anchorage station on Tellus to move an anchorage station, a Gravtake formation, a Pretech infantry, a commodities broker, a party machine, an extended theater asset, and a medical center to move them all to Idarast. So let's go handle that movement. So 1 Gravtank formation, medical center. Commodities broker. Party machine, anchorage station. 1, 2, 3. So what's left on Tellus is an Armageddon mech. A smuggler's asset. That looks an evasive influence, of course. And then we're going to move the 2 Armageddon mechs on their own to Idarast as well. We are then going to, they're then going to process their attack action to attack the Assembled Commonwealth on Idarast with a Gravtank formation, both Pretech infantries, the anchorage station, a commodities broker, an Armageddon mech, and then an Armageddon mech with overcharge. They, of course, reroll 1s and win on ties. So I have some defensive orders here. So let's run through everything all together, like we did earlier. First up, we have a Gravtank formation. That's this one. Gravtank's Force Attack Vane has a +7. Force Stat Assembled Commonwealth has a +6. The attack rollers get to reroll 1s and gain +7. The first attack with the Gravtank formation should block with the lowest remaining HP party machine, if any are still alive. There is still a party machine, I believe, on Idarast. We moved 1 back earlier. Assembled Commonwealth. Party machine. Yep, right here. This party machine, it has 8 HP. So it goes first. roll for the attackers a d10, rolling ones, ones plus 7 for a 13. The defense is a d10 plus 6 for a 7. Defenders fail. The attack with a grab formation is 2d10 plus 4. 2d10, rerolling ones, ones plus 4. For a total of 17 damage. So... and now we have the complicated conditionals. So they have 38 HP for their base of influence. So to the base of influence, if it would kill the asset and the damage is less than or equal to 4. That's not the case. 17, though. The other conditional is don't save to the base of influence. The damage would reduce the health below 25. So 38 minus 17 is 21. So that's below 25. So we let the party machine die. I told them at the time they sent this to me, this was a lot of conditionals, but it was fine. Party machine, down to 0. Plus 8 for BTE. Somebody keep track. Oh, did I move a base of influence? Off of Tellus? Fixed. Sweet, okay. So now, the next attack is a Pretech infantry asset, which... 2d8 damage. There are no party machines still alive, so the Pretech manufactory is up next. For defending. So the attacker's roll is the same. So in fact it is the exact same. That's a 13 on the attack. The defender's roll, however, is a 16 this time. The Pretech manufactory, though, side arrest, here it is, doesn't have counterattack damage, so there's no counterattack. And then we have another Pretech infantry attack, so we do these same rolls again, getting... oh, we triggered the reroll of the 1, so we have an 11 for the attackers, and a 11 for the defenders, but Children of the Vein does win on ties because of their tag interactions. So Children of the Vein has the tags Fanatical and Gene Rot Might. Fanatical, of course, allows them to reroll ones somewhere in this list. There it is. They would lose ties, but Gene Rot Might always wins on ties, overriding the effect of Fanatical. So they win this attack, being able to deal 2d8 damage. So that would be 8 damage. We get the same set of conditionals, except this time it wouldn't really reduce the base of influence health below 25. So base of influence on Idarast takes 8 damage, taking it down to 28. Plus 8 for the BTE. Oh, that's right. This should reroll a 1, so... in fact, this should be 15 damage. Great, and I have to redo all my math. 15 would take it down to... So 15 here would take us down to 21, though, which is below the base of influence thing. So that would reduce the base of influence health below 25, because it's actually 15 damage. So then this instead does get eaten by the Pretech Manufactory that lives at 1 HP, plus 15 for the BTE goal. So that's now complete, and I can quit worrying about it. One less thing to track. Where's the Pretech Manufactory? There it is, 1 HP. Okay. Up next, we have the Anchorage Station attacking, which we are blocking with the Pretech Infantry. That has Disorder, so it rolls a disadvantage on this. The Pretech, the Anchorage Station itself, it's up here at the moment still. Yeah, force attack damages still. So same roll for the attacker. So plus 11. Defenders now. Is it DH to drop the highest? Nope. I don't remember how to do disadvantage. KL? DL? No, I want to keep the highest. Or I want to keep the lowest, right? Because I want to roll at disadvantage. So DH, drop highest. But I tried that one. Been forever since I've had to do it. Keep lowest. KL? Yeah, I tried that. That didn't work either. Whatever, we will do it ourselves. It's a 10. That was so much more complicated than it needed to be. A 10 is less than 11. So, that is an attacker's success. So, Anchorage Station does 2d4 plus 2 damage. 2d4 plus 2 for a total of 9 damage dealt. Taking this down to 7. Attack 5 is a commodities broker. Oh, sorry. This is supposed to soak any damage to the base of influence. So this goes down to 25. And then attack 5 is the Pretech Infantry defending again, the commodities broker getting the attack. Now I know for certain we change, because commodities brokers are a different thing. Where's the commodities broker set type? That's you. Your wealth. Vane is a +7 wealth. Commonwealth is +7 as well. So the attackers are a d10. +7, re-rolling ones. So that's a 15 for the attackers, and a d10 +7. Oh, I need the KL one. I need to actually tell it how many to keep. Okay, yeah, there we go. That's a 12 for the defenders. So they lose The commodities brokers deal 2d8 damage. I believe we established that earlier. Yes, they do. So that's 4 damage to the pre-tech to the pre-tech infantry this time. Actually, not nothing to worry about for soaking. Attack 6. The next 2 attacks from the Armageddon mechs. We will use the Informer's asset on Idarast to block the first one. So these go back to force attacks. 2d10, keeping d10, keeping rerolling ones once, plus 7. So a 10, d10 plus 6 for the defenders is a 15. Defenders win. Do the Informer's asset have a counterattack damage? They don't, so we move on to the next Armageddon mech attack. This one overcharges, so we roll 2d10, keeping the highest one, rerolling ones once, plus 7 for a 14. Oh, reroll the 1 on the damage? Oh, you're right. I will get back to that in just a second. And then defenders here is a d10 plus 6 still, or an 18. So, great. That attack would succeed. Let's go reroll that other dice. So it should be 6 damage in total. So this should be a 10. And then this attack was an Armageddon mech that overcharged. Armageddon mechs themselves do 2d8 damage. The overcharge effect allows it to give plus 3, so this is 2d8 rerolling ones plus 3 for a total of 12 damage to the Informer's asset, which dies because it only has 3 HP. Okay. Overcharge causes damage to the asset itself. That is a d6 worth of damage to 6 damage to the second Armageddon mech that is on Idarast. That's the first one. I think it's this one. So it's down to 14 damage. Okay, I think that's all the attacks correct. I know they dealt more than 18 damage over time. I don't need to figure out how much total it was, but that's more than 18. So Blow at the Enemy is complete, plus 2 XP there, taking them up to 11. And then I just need to charge them for their turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 11. 11 faction credits in various movements. 60 costs. Children of the Vein, paid to the bank, 11 faction credits. Fantastic. I think that is it for the Children of the Vein and all of those attacks. So cool. Up less then, we just have the Mimnos Harvafab, who are going to collect their income of 6 faction credits. And then somewhere over here. Yep. They're going to roll for their ruin, which is on... Oops, not what I wanted to move. Not what I wanted to move. They're rolling for their ruin, which is on planet DS. So this is D10 plus 3. For an 11, that's a critical success. Then they have some assets to move. They're going to move an Armageddon mech down to the point of interest in 0508 and explore it. Or 0518, excuse me. So let's roll that exploration roll. So this is a D10 plus their force, which is a 6 versus difficulty 10. They've only rolled a 9. They will succeed at cost, though, which is a D4's damage. I don't remember. Been a while since I've had to run that action. Exploration. Yeah, a D4 worth of damage. For 3 damage to this Armageddon mech. So it goes down to 17. Fantastic. How many planets do they find? 2 planets. Those both look like fun planets. So the first one is 0518, wherever that is. Planet. Planet DV. Again, sheet I know, 0518. System XXI. Planet is DW. So the first one here has the mechanical tag. Facility assets cost 1 less. It is uncolonized at TL2 with a thick atmosphere. It is variable warm and has a missile biosphere with the tags Hive Mind and Revanchists. Our next planet has the tag that force assets deal 1 additional damage on attack rolls made. It has billions of people living on it in a TL4 plus society, with the airless or thin atmosphere surrounded by a temperate temperature, and a municipal biosphere with the tags of abandoned colony and sectarians on it. Neither one gets a ruin. Here's those roll results again, if you're so inclined of them. They do have a few other movements to handle this turn. They have a few different strike fleets, one of which is going to move itself down to Idarast. And the second, on Tellus, is going to stay put. They do send out a little missive to everyone that they are planning to chase after the jailers. So, if you're interested in coordinating with them for such a plan, they are more open this turn than they have perhaps been in the past to coordinating such an outlay. That, however, after I make that final movement, will be their turn. So Mimnos earned 6 faction credits of income. That'll cost them a total this turn of 5 faction credits, because of what they also spent on their ruin exploration roll. Mimnos to the bank. 5 faction credits. They have 1 strike fleet on Tellus that has moved itself to Idarast. Fantastic. I think that is it. So we just have a ruin to finish up with. So I'm going to need quite a few factions from my faction list this time. Let me... Aguamala Syndicate, Larkspur Combine, Aguamala, Aguamala, Larkspur, Aguamala, Tahora Y, Tellus Council, and then the new one, Tellus Council. Okay. Let's go assign the owners of these. Oh. This one goes to Aguamala. This one goes to the Larkspur Combine. This one goes to Aguamala. This one goes to Tahora Y. This one goes to the Tellus Council. And the Tellus Council gets a new one. If acquiring a distorted asset or distorted lens in this way puts you over the cap, no, it didn't. You're allowed to be over the cap for this one. Fantastic. Okay. The Armageddon mechs being over cap is I messed up, and we didn't discover it until too late. So it would be rude of me to destroy the asset at this point. So I'm letting it go, but they can't build another one. I did not catch that somebody had built it, and yes, Concord has gotten away with the fact that they accidentally made a 6th, and I didn't catch it, and somebody else didn't. It didn't get pointed out to me until it was too late to fix this mistake in a way that seemed reasonable. So instead, we are letting the mistake live. But this one I am fine with. Tellus Council can also, if like collecting their 5th, the new one would have pushed them over the cap, which it didn't, just push them up to 5. Then we would have had a problem there, but we don't. Cool. So, yeah, a lot has happened. Feel free to follow up with me on Discord if you've got any questions. So this turn has taken quite a bit longer than the last few, but you know, I think that's all right. A lot happened. It was important to take the time to do it all right and to pay appropriate tribute. So yes, I will roll any Megafauna turns off stream as well. They probably won't move because nobody's messed with them, and I've decided that's a slightly better way to work with them. But that said, thanks everyone for playing in with Faction Turn 60. So I don't have the exact dates for the next Faction Turn on hand, but I do know that my schedule for weekends is pretty complicated. So I think the next Faction Turn stream pretty much has to be on November 1st. So 4 weeks from today. I apologize that it is the day after Halloween, but I think the next one needs to be November 1st, because if I don't pick November 1st, I basically can't do another one until December. So we'll probably do November 1st, operate around that assumption, but I will confirm that over the course of this evening, looking at my calendar. But yeah, if I don't do November 1st, I won't have access to my my normal PC for the entire month of November after that on any weekend. So it's probably just best to do it November 1st, and then we'll go from there. But that said, thank you everyone for tuning in for Faction Turn 60. It's incredible that we've been doing this for 5 years, and also wonderful that we're still making fun and interesting story beats, hopefully, for us to continue to see what happens. Thanks everyone, and I will see you next month. Of course, as always, if you have questions, ping me on Discord and I'll get a summary up as soon as I can. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll leave you with some fun tunes for at least a few minutes to enjoy on the way out. Goodbye.